We've just come out of a scorching hot weekend, and in particular Sunday was really high with the winds as well, which made it even harder for our plants. Hoping you guys out there didn't cop it as bad as we did. Some of the fruit stewed on the tree, and I've got to go harvest all the plums afterwards. But what I want to talk about today is, well, the garden's faring pretty well considering the weather and the fact that I hardly get any time in the last few weeks to look after it, but it's still holding ground. These tomatoes are doing really well. They're holding upright, and today, as we're talking about this little segment, it's about 16, 17 degrees at the moment. I think it got up to about 22 out here. So from 38, probably higher, down to 22 degrees as a maximum, and a southeasterly wind coming through, which is a little bit nippy. There's been a big difference in the climate for all our plants, so they go through a lot of stress. But what I have noticed lately, folks, is that cabbage white butterfly. Now, a lot of you may know it as cabbage white moth. In actual fact, it is a butterfly, and it's just everywhere. I'd love to hear from you guys if you've had the same experience. Now, it's so cold now, they've gone in hiding, but when I got out here, it was like, for those who've experienced this, the white fly, the little white fly that lives on the underside of the foliage of tomatoes and other plants alike, like cucumbers and capsicums. As soon as you ruffle the leaves, they just come up in a cloud of them. That's exactly how the cabbage white butterfly was. Now, it doesn't live for long. The butterfly itself is very, very safe for the garden. In actual fact, it's a great pollinator for your plants. And that's what they've been doing here. Let me take you down to this little rosemary. Well, it's not a rosemary, it's an oregano. I'll get it right one day. And there's some hiding in here still. There they are. And that's nothing. I tell you, have a look at the footage earlier on when the sun was out, as I filmed them, to show you the amount of cabbage white butterfly we've got on this plant. Now, they're doing a great job in pollinating other varieties like my tomatoes, my cucumbers and alike, but they also can do some damage. Now, it's not the butterfly itself that does the damage, but it's the caterpillar, the larvae that they lay. Now, they will go and burrow into your fruit. They'll eat the leaves off your cabbages, your brassicas, your kales, and other leafy plants, even lettuce. Wherever they want to land and lay an egg, they will. Now, that little caterpillar lives for about 1 to 2 weeks before it pupates back into an adult and turns into a butterfly in its own right as well. But during that period, what do? I got no answers. The amount of butterfly that's been out in circulation in my garden the last few days has just knocked out all theories out of the ballpark. You know, they're territorial. They are not, because I've got, 100 on here when you saw that little video? Literally. And at any one time in this back garden, there would have been at least 500 and possibly close to 1,000. That's how many there are. And driving on the freeway, on the highways, I'm sure you've all seen the same thing. They're everywhere. What do you do to protect your plants? Only insect netting, and it's too late now, because if they've been out in your garden, they would have done the laying already, and those caterpillars will start to emerge. And if your tomatoes are getting hit by that, my condolences, my sincere condolences. I've planted so late. My Adels, have a look at this. They're green still. Super green, just set some fruit. The other couple of flowers have been knocked off. These are starting to actually fruit well for me. There's another bigger one down here. Have a look at that. Even the big Malaccas have set fruit. Now, this is a completely different setup to what I normally do, folks. I'm trying the horizontal string, and to me it looks like a shemozzle, but there is fruit in here. It's sitting there, and we've got plenty of flowers. Better late than never, as they say. So controlling the cabbage, net your garden. You have to, especially if you've got a lot of leafy greens in the garden. So get your insect netting. The bird netting, not so much. Actually, it would work because the aperture is a lot smaller. So the bird netting or the insect netting is what I recommend to do in your garden. You can spray them. Try the oil and the chili and the garlic soap and all that stuff. I know you've heard me say it a million times. I'm going to try some in the garden to see if it stops them eating my kale and all my other leafy greens. And if that doesn't work, there's a product in the industry available at all good garden centres. It's called Dipel. I don't normally promote another product, but that's the only one I can really recommend at this stage, and I do recommend you do something if you're having problems in your garden. So Dipel would be the safest out of the lot to use after trying your olive oil and dishwashing liquid. Now, they will work to some degree, but it's something, well, when you've got thousands of them or hundreds of these butterflies in your garden, there's really no end to their cycle. Now, they Why are they so active this time of the year? Well, I reckon we've had the perfect climate for it. We've had an unusually warm winter and slightly moist as well, not as moist as normally, but usually warm, and spring exactly the same. But we've had a high level of humidity and a few rainfalls in between those hot days that we've experienced. And that's, I suppose, the perfect environment where they can overwinter properly. So the adults, the butterflies and the eggs have been able to survive through the winter period because it hasn't been cold enough. And now with the warm weather and the excessive moisture that we've had, and it's not deep moisture, it's surface moisture, and don't think for a minute that our grounds are nice and moist because we've had some good rain. No, they're actually quite dry down below, but there's been enough moisture on the surface, just deep enough for the white butterfly to keep alive and lay and pupate and progress and lay eggs. So that's what's been happening, and I'm just kind of glad that the weather's dropped so much and I can see my garden through the wings flapping around. What else can you do? Put eggshells with a couple of dots on them, put some white t-shirts and dots all over your body because you mimic that of a butterfly because they've got 2 dots on their backs, on their wings. Spray, netting, or otherwise sit back and just watch your garden get decimated. It happens. From me, Vasily, Maresi.